In a previous video, we looked at the SharePoint source component, one of the many components in Pragmatic Works Task Factory suite of SSIS tools. We saw how easy it was to use SQL Server Integration Services to extract data out of a SharePoint list using the SharePoint source. What, though, do we do if we need to push data into a SharePoint list? It turns out it's every bit as easy using Task Factory SharePoint Destination component. Here you can see I've got a list of the top BIDN bloggers. In the left is the name of the blogger, and in the right is the URL to their site on BIDN.com. If you're not familiar with BIDN.com, let me briefly refresh your memory. BIDN stands for the Business Intelligence Developers Network, and it is a collaborative effort among business intelligence professionals across the world to form a central site for posting articles, to have forums, to put blogs, jobs, events, and so forth. Here I'm on the blog page, and on the right you can see the top blog contributors, which I've placed into my SharePoint list. What I want to do now is to add a new blogger to this list. I'm going to add myself. In order to have a source for my simple SSIS package, I've created a simple text file. Within the text file, I start with the name of the blogger, in this case me, Arcane Code. I then use a vertical bar, and in that vertical bar will act as a separator. I then have my URL information. Now within SharePoint, to store something in a URL designated field, you first have to start with the actual URL, then a comma, and then the descriptive text you want to display. So here, I want to display Arcane Code on BIDN as my descriptive text. So here I am inside bids, and I've got a simple data flow task on it, and so far I've got nothing in my data flow task. So I'm going to start by creating a flat file source to that text file you just saw. And we'll make it a little bigger, and let's open it up. And I need to create a new connection. And I'm going to call the connection manager name SP source. And for the file name, let's come here and we'll browse down. And we've already got the folder, so we'll call it SP source text. And I have no column header, so I can leave this information alone. I'm going to come over here to the columns, and you can see it's kind of gotten confused on the columns because I don't have a vertical bar, and because I had a comma after here by default, it wants to actually separate this from this. What we actually need to do then is to come here to the column delimiter, and we'll change it to vertical bar, and then we'll do refresh. And now you can see I've got the blogger name on the left, and then in column 1, I've actually got the correct formatting to put into my URL field in SharePoint. Now let's make it easier on ourselves. Let's come over here to Advanced, and we're going to change column 0, and we're going to call it Blogger, and we'll change column 1 to be URL. And we can leave the rest of this alone. You might need to come in real life and change some of these column widths, but for now we'll just leave this alone and click OK. And we can confirm that everything's set up correctly by coming here to columns, and sure enough we've got blogger and URL, so we'll just click OK. And now the fun begins. We're going to come down and grab a SharePoint destination out of our Task Factory, and we'll connect it up. Make her a little bigger. Alright, the first thing we'll need to do is select a connection manager, so we'll hit the drop down, and we'll come down here and we're going to paste in the URL to our SharePoint server, and then we'll enter the username, and I'm going to include the domain name. And we'll put in a password, and we'll click the test connection, and that's good, and we'll click OK. Now in the destination list, we'll pick it, and we'll scroll down to our top bloggers. There we go. Okay, now down here it has the destination columns, and it shows title and URL, but wait a minute, in our list we had blogger and URL. Well, I went in and I edited the SharePoint list, and I actually said, let's change the descriptive text that goes over the title column and call it Blogger. Behind the scenes, though, the field is still known as title. So we're going to come over here and we'll just match from our input column, Blogger, and we'll match that to title. URL automatically matched up for us, and we'll just ignore the other two, and we'll click OK. And there we go. That's all there is to it. Now when I run this, I'll come over here to execute package. Okay, it executed successfully. So now if we jump back over to Internet Explorer, and we'll come here and do a refresh on our page, we can see that sure enough, my name has now been added to the list of top bloggers, and there's the actual descriptive text, arcane code on BIDN. So using the SharePoint Destination component makes it very, very easy to update your SharePoint lists with new information. For more information on Task Factory, please visit us at pragmaticworks.com.